Hello, welcome to lesson 66. This is called reading a centimeter scale. Now, we did learn in a previous lesson about centimeters and millimeters and decimeters and how many centimeters are in a decimeter and how many and a decimeter, that one decimeter equals 10 centimeters. So this is a regular ruler that we usually have, that most of you do, and this is our centimeter side. Now we did learn about that with the centimeter side, we also have every single marking on the centimeter ruler is a millimeter. So we have centimeters and millimeters on the ruler. Almost every single ruler will have centimeters and millimeters. And there's 10 centimeters in between every, or 10 millimeters, excuse me, in between every centimeter. Now, on a centimeter scale, now reading from centimeters to decimeters and millimeters to centimeters is almost the exact same thing because all you're doing is dividing by 10. So it's very interchangeable and very easy to understand as far as seeing patterns and just moving your decimal place, and that 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter, just like 10 centimeters equals 1 decimeter. Now on this segment right here that I've drawn, I have 55 millimeters long. It is 55 millimeters. That means 55 of each of these tiny lines. That would be right here. So right in between your 6 and your 5 is 55 millimeters. And that is the same as 5.5 centimeters or 5.5 centimeters. So example 1 says, how many centimeters is this segment? I've already given to you, since you can't really measure on the screen, but I've already given to you that it's 86 millimeters. So if it's 86 millimeters, how many centimeters would it be? Well, because you have a tenth of every, or you have 1 millimeter is a tenth of a centimeter, you can just write this as a decimal point. You have 8. We know that we have 80 millimeters in here altogether, which equals 8 centimeters. So I know I have at least 8 centimeters. And if I have 6 extra millimeters, that's 6 tenths of a centimeter. So 8 and 6 tenths centimeters is how much 86 millimeters is. Simply put, you're just adding a decimal point in between, but realizing that 1 millimeter is a tenth of a centimeter, and that's why we always label it as tenths. This will help us when reading these number lines and what decimal point it's pointing to. It's going to be the exact same thing as just writing it as decimals, because you have multiples of 10 for your millimeters and centimeters, decimeters and meters. They're all related with multiples of 10. So example 2 says, to what decimal is the arrow pointing? Now, I will tell you a lot of, if it's ever looking for a decimal point, you can automatically assume that all of these are tenths, because they are going to be tenths. That's what you have when you have decimal places. You have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, and we're reading on these, it's going to be tenths. So this is 3 and 1/10, 3 and 2/10, 3 and 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. So that would be 3 and, use our decimal point, 7/10. That is our decimal point. Now, you can also write as a mixed number, but it's looking for a decimal number. So what decimal point is it pointing to? It's pointing to 3 and 7/10. So that means it is close to 4, realizing that if I were to round it, it would be about 4, but it's exactly 3 and 7/10. So that example 2 should help you for the practice set. You're going to be doing basically the exact same thing. These are all of these are tenths. So there's 10 spaces in between every single number because you are writing a decimal number. So 0 is going to be your whole number, which means you're just going to have a decimal point in whatever decimal point after. And here, same thing. You're not at 1 yet, so 0 and what? Name your decimal point. So you have tens in between, so all you have to do is just simply count the lines that you have and which line is it on right before. So go ahead and do letter F, G, H, I, and J. And we will go ahead and go over those in class for better understanding, as well as also practicing measuring with our centimeters and millimeters, with centimeters and millimeters on our ruler. Thank you so much for listening.